one of the female sprinters said that so many people watch the race and all they see is the 10 or 20 seconds of the race. And what she sees is the 4 years of preparation leading up to the 10-second race or the 20-second race or the 1 minute race, and how everything hinges and comes to a culmination at that one short moment that required lots of discipline leading up to it. Welcome to the show called Let's Talk Homeschool, brought to you by Apologia Educational Ministries. This is the show where we talk about everything homeschooling, the who, what, when, where, why, and how. We want to affirm and encourage you in the decision to homeschool, challenge and inspire you to take it to new heights, and celebrate everything you get to experience along the way in this adventure of a lifetime. We are your hosts, Davis and Rachael Carman, and today's show is titled Creation and the Olympics. Okay, Rachael, let's talk homeschool.
Yeah.
So many lessons that we teach our kids when we homeschool, many of them range from how to see current events from a Christian worldview.
Right.
So in August, we had the 2024 Olympics in Paris.
Yep.
We love watching the Olympics.
We do.
We've had our own family Olympics at home. I've gone on family beach vacations and had family Olympics during all the years. We actually went to the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta when we had 3 little kids.
Yeah.
So love the Olympics. And so as most people are aware, during this year's opening ceremonies, there were some scenes that were questionable and raised lots of attention and chatter and talk, especially among Christians, about what just happened.
Yeah, no, I felt broadsided. We weren't together.
I actually missed watching the opening Olympics, but we live in a world of immediate news, and so within 24 hours, I heard what had happened. No, I didn't go back to watch it, but I've certainly read all the stories about it.
Yeah, I was at home, and I think I only watched it with one of our kids that was at home because the other one was working. But I just remember watching it, and we've watched the Olympic opening ceremonies. I remember China. I've watched the opening ceremonies, and actually it's usually a wonder. So for somebody who's been a part of large productions, musical theater, I'm always wowed by what they're able to pull off.
Just the production piece.
Yeah, I'm just always like, my goodness, the synchronization, the music cues, the costumes. I just always think that's remarkable. I really felt broadsided by this. I was just like, whoa, what is going on?
Right. So if you're just to review, there were some scenes where people were dressed up as blue demons. There was a mockery scene of the Last Supper and several other scenes that showed perverted deprivation of sexual activities. Right. And some of the responses was, did we really just see what we just saw?
It was that remarkable, yeah.
Was it, or was it, and then some of the other extreme responses were, that was horrible, that was obviously a mockery, but it raised question marks in a lot of people's minds about what just happened. Mm-hmm. So one of the first points we want to make in this show is we talk about how, as a creation-based curriculum publisher, what we saw and interpreted is, if you go back to Genesis 1, 2, and 3, creation, Adam and Eve, and then the fall. And during the scene in the fall where Eve is having a conversation with a talking serpent, in my mind, one of the first things we would want to ask if we were standing there is, whoa, time out. There's a talking serpent. Yeah. Attention, red flags. Should I even be having this conversation? Yeah. So when something catches your attention in a shock type of value, or is very unusual and unexpected, that should get our attention. So Adam and Eve should have had like an immediate attention getter of, we're talking to a serpent here. This seems a little odd. Just like when you're watching the 2024 opening ceremonies of the Olympics and you see these, it shouldn't be, oh, wow, well, maybe that didn't really happen, or maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked. No, it should catch your attention and say, wow, I'm going to trust my instincts. That was not good.
Right.
I don't know how this came about, but I recognize that as timeout, something's not right. So that in a lot of ways, in the world we're living in today, we don't want to become desensitized to these kind of events
No, I
where
agree.
we suddenly are having conversations with a talking serpent or thinking that a blue demon is normal and a mockery of the Last Supper is okay.
No, I
Those
think-
should get our attention, and we should be, literally have righteous indignation against these kind of things.
So we didn't make it that far. So one of our daughters and I, we were watching it, and we got to one of the sexually perverse scenes, and it didn't take long to get there, right? I mean, and we're watching it, and it was in French, and so there were parts of it that we didn't get. Although she did take some French, she wasn't able to catch it. And at first, in the beginning of it, you're like, that seems odd. And then as it progressed, you're like, no. And we turned it off after that because and I understand that it got worse. I think there was something with Marie Antoinette too. I mean, it was way over the deep end. And I think that's part of it. I think there was a part of me that was like, I need to watch this because I need to engage with this because I need to have this conversation. And that one thing that we watched, I was like, no, I have other things to engage with. I do not need to do this. There are other people that will do this for me. I don't want these images in my head, right? I mean, that was the bottom line. But in the aftermath of everything, so we didn't make it to the mockery of the Lord's Supper. And I'm grateful to be able to say that. John Stonestreet over at the Colson Center did an excellent job of dissecting it and talking that through. And I'm grateful for his work and the work of others who were willing to dig in and do that. But I think it's valuable for our souls and the souls of our children to say, yeah, no, and to turn it off. Because there were many people arguing for, this was just artistic expression. This is just an expression. And I'm like, no, it's far more than that. It hijacked the opening ceremonies.
Right.
It totally hijacked what should have been a celebration. And frankly, I'm just going to say, I don't think any of what they were trying to sell, all the woke ideology, had a place at the opening ceremony of the Olympics. It was not a celebration of sportsmanship and all of these amazing things that all these hours of disciplined work have brought these people together to compete. I mean, it was none of that. Right. It was literally a slap in the face of anything traditional or orthodox or good, sacred, true, and beautiful. I mean, It was a slap in the face. It was not accidental.
Well, and the thing is, we were watching it, and many families were watching it because they weren't expecting that. They were expecting family-friendly views of all these nations in their different uniforms and costumes. And so that's when we have to be on alert so that when something does slap us upside the head, when we were expecting something better, that we recognize it for what it is and say, whoa, time out, talking serpent. No, turn it off. We're done.
We're done.
As opposed to going into something that has the chances of being bad. Those you need to be much more leery going into it. But
if you even choose to go into it.
Right, but this, right, and I would recommend not going into do it if you know.
Right.
But this is something that most people rightly were expecting, something family-friendly, something that was not going to be, desecrating sacred, images and pictures and moments.
And that really underscores the phrase. Paul uses it through the New Testament. Most of us are probably familiar with the phrase. There's a couple of them that he uses in the New Testament, and I thought when I first started studying these phrases that I was only going to find it in the New Testament, but turns out, the Bible being one comprehensive story that complements itself through and through, and it's really one story. This phrase is also in the Old Testament, so no big shock there. But it's the idea of be on the alert. Guard yourself. Guard your mind. Stand. The whole idea, and even the Watchtower in Habakkuk, the idea that we need to be paying attention And so often so often we aren't. We're just like in that neutral place, and we're just taking for granted that things are going to be okay, and we're not. And I'm guilty of this. I was guilty of this. I'm with. You're exactly right. I thought I could turn on and watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics,
Be safe.
and just be safe and just enjoy it. Maybe there'd be a couple of things, but I didn't think it would be the whole thing. I didn't think it would be so bad that it would require turning it off.
Right.
But it really spurred a lot of conversation, and I'm grateful that it did. I'm grateful that people were so offended to say something,
Right.
and to
That's a good
stand
point.
up and see it for what it was. But I think it was so monumental that we need to make sure that we don't go back to sleep
Right.
and get off the watchtower and sit back down. I think we need to, as a result of that, be more determined to make sure we're paying attention.
Right. So that's an important message to interpret what happened from a Christian worldview. But as we continue this conversation, we want to talk about what we love about the Olympics, what the Olympics can be.
Yeah.
And that is this amazing time every 4 years where most of the world comes together to celebrate some things, to compete with each other, to be in the same location, to bring their best athletes, their best gymnasts, their best divers, their best people with the greatest talents in the world, and put it on display in a way that's uniting, that's brings the world together in a peaceful scenario. And so I remember when I was younger in high school, and the 1980 and 84 Olympics, we were in the Cold War, and so we didn't go to the 1980 Olympics in Russia as a country, and then Russia boycotted the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles because of the Cold War. And I remember as a kid not liking that moment. Can we not put that aside?
I know.
For the Olympics? Can they be the thing that actually unites us rather than divides us? Because sports can do that. Sports can be a uniting thing. And the Olympics allow for that opportunity. So when something like this happens, it causes frustration. But the Olympics have some positive elements in them, and at least one of them is bringing the world together. And the better we can do that and take advantage of those moments, and remember that we're a world of people with all different skin tones, different cultures, even different religions, different languages. And we can actually come together, not to build a Tower of Babel, but to compete together in a peaceful way. There can be some beautiful moments that happen when that happens well.
Yeah. And again, I'm reminded of Romans 1. So Paul's great doctrinal thesis for the New Testament, and that first chapter when he says those who suppress the truth. And I really think that that's what the opening ceremonies were a suppression of the truth, because I think what you're trying to highlight now is just the beauty of the competition and, discipline. And Paul uses the analogy of running a race as, how he disciplines himself. And if you're going to run a race, you got to discipline yourself. And I think one of the things that's highlighted to me in the Olympics is I watch, no matter what, we watched ping pong this year, and I've never watched ping pong before. And I thought it was amazing how those guys, how far back they were standing from the table, and how enthusiasm, the strategy, the serve, the whole thing. I'd never watched it before. But it doesn't matter if I'm watching a ping pong tournament or somebody racing, or the water polo. We watched some of that this year, or the diving. I'm always struck by the discipline that every one of those athletes have to have put into practice to get there.
Right.
And it's challenging to me personally to be more disciplined. And the Christian life requires discipline. And Paul highlights, to do this, to live like this, to walk like this, requires discipline. The self-controlled, disciplined life is what we're called to. And it's really easy, I think, to watch the Olympics and just miss that. And I don't think we should miss that. I think it's a celebration of all of these people who have hyper focused on something, whether it's jumping high or swimming fast, and they have dedicated their lives, everything that they eat, everything that they watch, everything that they do every day, it's for this one purpose. And I just think, what would it look like for me to live that way? If everything, which is, by the way, what I'm called to, in word and deed, to do all to the honor and the glory of God, that's the disciplined life.
That's so true. And one of the female sprinters said that so many people watch the race and all they see is the 10 or 20 seconds of the race. And what she sees is the 4 years of preparation leading up to the 10-second race or the 20-second race or the 1 minute race, and how everything hinges and comes to a culmination at that one short moment that required lots of discipline leading up to it.
And that's the emotion you see on the platform. Or you know, in our day, remember, what was the thing about the prelude to the Olympics, the thump of success and
the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
The agony, of defeat. And there was this guy falling down. You remember it, falling down on his skis. But that's it. It's the thrill of victory. And you see these people just overcome. I remember when the ping pong guy won, back to the ping pong. And he was just like, I think he was ranked 16th and he won the whole thing. And he was just like, oh my goodness, all of those hours, all of this were for, oh, wow.
I did it, yeah.
And then the other people who maybe were pumped up and hyped up as they were going to be the person they come in 16th, and how they're just like, what just happened? I worked all this time. So yeah, I still think that there's something to be said for the value of humans coming together and competing together, because I saw a lot of really good sportsmanship subsequently, you know, having turned off the opening ceremonies and did not even watch the closing ceremonies. In between, there was really some beautiful sportsmanship and competition.
Right, there's the sportsmanship is a wonderful thing to watch. The stories behind the scenes that you're talking about.
By and large, right.
And then the fact that we're watching the fastest people on the planet.
Yeah.
The actual fastest people on the planet. The best divers, the gymnasts doing triple flips in the air. The talent on display that is on loan from God that people are gifted with is astounding and inspiring and just beautiful to watch, to realize that as humans, we have these skills, and then we decided to get together every 4 years to compete against each other and unite as a country, which leads me to the final thought I wanted to share, and that is, as a creation-based publishing company, we talk about creation in the beginning, but we also know that there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. God's going to make everything new. There'll be a new creation. And at that time, in a sense, there'll be a worldwide Olympics again. Every nation, every tongue, every culture, every person will bow at the name of Jesus when he comes again to reclaim his own. And there'll be this wedding feast. It's going to be a big party where we're going to be worshiping God. But the Olympics, in some ways, could be a foretaste of what it looks like for the whole world to be together for a common purpose, not a religious purpose in this case, but one day we will all be together, and our eyes will be on one thing, and that'll be Christ.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that one day I'll be able to run that fast. But I don't guess that's what you're going to say. No, I agree. And again, that's what I saw in the competition, was every tribe and every tongue and every nation coming together and celebrating, hugs across the lanes when they would run fast or when they were swimming. And that's beautiful. And that is an honor to the glory of God. And so I think there was much to be seen and celebrated. And there were some athletes who dared to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ and point to him for their talent, and may God bless them for doing so, and may we be on guard. I think this is just a foretaste of what it's going to look like to live in a post-Christian world, and we need to make sure that we're on guard for that.
That's right. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been a Let's Talk Homeschool, brought to you by Apologia Educational Ministries, and we are your hosts, Davis and Rachael Carman. Have a great day, and as always, we are walking by faith and enjoying the homeschooling adventure of a lifetime.